This is the on-record portion of the Rockridge Report. I'm Nelson Helm, and today we're talking to Lexington Mayor Mimi Elrod. Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming and sitting with us today.
Nelson, I'm very glad to be here. It's a privilege and an honor.
So first, let's talk about how you first came to Lexington.
Okay.
I know your husband was the president at one point, but how did you first come to Lexington, Virginia?
John came here as dean. He had come here the year before he was appointed as dean and talked to a group of people. He was interested in Einstein and God, and he gave a lecture and he met some people, and he was asked the next year to apply for the job as dean, and he got it. And we were both Southerners, so we were very glad to get back into this area. So that was our first entree into Lexington, Virginia, and I sort of fell in love with it from the outset, and we really both have enjoyed being here. I have, and he did.
And where were you before Lexington?
We were at Iowa State University. We both, John had gone there to take a job as head and became head of the Department of Philosophy there. And I had always wanted to go back to school, so I did a master's and PhD there and then taught for a few years until we came here.
And what were your master's and PhD in?
They were both in child development. It's sort of an area of developmental psychology.
Right.
Conception to death.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, if you're a child development psychologist, what led you to public service?
Well, that's a good question. When we came here, I had anticipated being able to get a job. We've got these 4 schools that surrounded us, and that didn't work out. And so I took a job in the admissions office and did some other things. But after John died, I was talking to a woman named Suzanne Thomas who was on the board, and she and John were very good friends. And it was at Lee House, and I said, I could just live here forever. We loved living in the Lee House and having people over and students over. And she said, you can't do that. You've got to find another choice. So our conversation, she was a friend of Mark Warner, and she persuaded me to run for the House of Delegates. So that's what I did. And I don't want to sound sanctimonious, but I've always had a feeling that you should try to make the world a better place if you can. And so that was a big motivation for me, is to try to make it a better place for everybody, not just for a few. And then after that, it was an unsuccessful run for the House of Delegates. And then I was appointed to City Council and was on City Council for 6 years, and then became mayor in 2008. So I will have been mayor for 8 years.
And your unsuccessful House of Delegates run was against?
It was against Ben Klein, who is, no one has been able to to have a successful run against him. He's a nice young man, but I had hoped to win.
Mm-hmm. When you were first appointed to City Council, what did you expect to win the seat?
What happened in that particular instance was a man had been on City Council. He moved to the county, Pat Meyerchak, and so they had to make an appointment because I think he had maybe 2 or 3 years left. It was early in his term. So there were 4 of us who vied for that position. We all had to stand up and talk, and then the council, I was lucky enough to be the chosen person. So that's how I got on, and I served 3 years, then I ran again and was elected and served 4 more years.
And then you were elected mayor of Lexington.
Yes, in 2008. And I did have an opponent both times. The same person ran against me twice.
Although in your last election, or your re-election campaign, you won handedly.
I won. I did. I'm glad you said that. Not me. I did win handily. And we know of one person that's going to run this next time, Chuck Smith. I don't know who else will be in the running.
So why do you think people of Lexington keep re-electing you?
That's an unanticipated question. I have known a lot of people here. When I ran for the House of Delegates, I thought, well, I know all those people over at Washington and Lee, surely I'll win, and I didn't, and it's not just about that. But I've always been involved. I've been involved with lots of boards and commissions, and on many of those I became the president. And so I think people saw me as someone who was committed to the city and would work hard for the city, because I'd been doing that in different ways. And I like people. And I think when you like people and people know that, then they like you back. And so I have a lot of friends. I don't really know. It's hard to say that. I do think most of the people I know like me. Most of the people that I know I like. Not everybody likes me, but that's just the way it goes. But 69% of the people who voted liked me, and that was nice. Oh.
So why step down now? Why step down from your public service?
Well, it's not an easy thing to do, but I have, as I said, I was on city council for 6 years, and then I've been mayor. I will have been mayor for 8 by December 31st. I remind people that I'm still mayor, but I think that's long enough, and I'm very interested in doing other things. I'm interested in the community table and the food pantry here. I'm very interested in over-incarceration. I'm interested in both local and more national issues, and I'm not sure how one gets involved in gun control, or not taking people's guns away, but just having some rules and regulations, and over-incarceration. We spend a lot of money incarcerating people. In the Rockbridge area, we spend about $20,000 a year on people. And you know, there's nothing wrong with spending money on people, but that money could be used in better ways. So those two issues all three of those are issues that I care about. And I'm sort of ready to move on. And also I have talked about younger people. We need more younger people involved in city government. We have 2 younger people on council now. They are wonderful. And you can't keep saying you hope that younger people will be on and then keep serving forever. So that's a long answer to your question.
How do you think you're going to get involved into these local and national issues that you talked about?
Well, the local issues are easier because I already volunteer at the community table, and I'm involved with 2 groups. They're both called Rockbridge 2020, and one relates to economic development and one relates to health care. I'm not sure about the national issues because I've never really done that. I do have some connections with the state and being on this task force of Governor McAuliffe's, and I hope that will give me an entree. And I know both Senator Warner and Senator Kane fairly well. You know, Senator Kane's mother-in-law was on the Board of Trustees here, Jinx Holton, and there's, you know, if you go to Washington and are connected with it, you're always connected with those people. And so I hope to gain some access to that.
Do you think that you're going to run again for the House of Delegates?
No, no, I'm not. I'm not. I hope somebody else will run again for the House of Delegates, but I will not be that person.
Is there a difference between being the First Lady of Washington Lee and being the First Lady of Lexington?
I am the first woman mayor. Yes, they are different, and I love being First Lady, but I was First Lady because of the accomplishments of my husband, and he was very accomplished, and we loved doing what his job required. He did the hard part, but it was a different kind of role because in that role I wasn't in a leadership position, whereas when you're the mayor of a city, even though we have a strong city manager system, you still can have an influence. And the issues that we've dealt with, especially the flag issue and this rebuilding of Waddell School, I was very much out in front of both of those, and that wasn't my role as First Lady of Washington and Lee.
Speaking about the flag controversy, is Lexington gonna prohibit Lee Jackson Day anytime soon?
No, that's a strong no. We don't want to. There are people that fly their flags when they walk down Main Street, and that's fine. I mean, I don't really love seeing Confederate flags. I'd be lying if I said I did. I don't. But that's what they want to do, and we will never prohibit that. If store owners want to fly the Confederate flag on their stores, that's fine. But we're not going to fly them on our flag poles. And I think Washington and Lee has sort of a different issue with that because of the Letcher Avenue issue, and I don't know where that will go.
Right.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Well, this is the on-record portion of the Rockbridge Report. Thank you, Mimi Elrod, for coming in today.